ARTIMA, SAKULKOO, Artima Sakulku. It's Artima. Yay!
Hello YouTube, it's Artima here. Alright, let's pause right there. I fuck up my audio here. Please don't ask why, it's embarrassing. And because I'm good at finding my way out of everything, including solving problems, I'm voice over this entire video and I will try my best to mimic myself. So let's go. In this video, I'm showing you guys how I edit most of my pictures. Usually I edit them in Photoshop and Lightroom Classic. But today, we're doing something quick and we're gonna be editing them in Lightroom, which you can find in your mobile app. First thing first, you want to get into your Lightroom. So open your Lightroom. Right here, I already made my folder. It's called New Edits. And I already have my picture taken. Let's say I'm gonna choose this picture. Okay, this is a finished product. But here's the before. I like the before. It looked natural. It looked really realistic. And it's nothing bad here, to be honest. But you want your picture to be a little bit pop when you post it on Instagram to catch your audience attention. And you want to give it a little bit more color and all the jazz into the photo. Right here under the lights, you have exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks. So exposure here is basically how bright or dark your pictures appear. Contrast is the scale of differentiating tones of black, gray, and white. If you're doing low contrast, your image will turn out as like a narrow range of colors. While if you're doing high contrast, your image will appear to have a brighter highlights and dark shadows. So what highlights do here is that it recovers lost detail in the brightest parts of your image without pushing your exposure past the white point. Shadows here are the darkest parts. Whites here give you a little bit more brightness into the image, not exactly an exposure, but it gives your image wider shade, if that makes sense. And for blacks, it's doing the same as the whites, but it captures black areas in your photo. What is important here is that you don't want this black area to be too big, or the image will be blocked and it will look muddy and gray, and you wouldn't want that. Usually I go to auto and see what it gives me. It did pretty well, but I would spice it up or down. Depends on how the photo turns out. For exposure here, I would go just right there. And for the rest of the settings here, play along with how you like. Just make sure that your photo does not go over or under exposure. And here's my edits for reference. Okay, so it looks great. Now we're good here. Alright, curve. A lot of you may be scared to do this or like confused what this is. It's actually a really important part to get your picture right in the spot. So what curve does here is that it's remapping of image tonality. And right here in the graph, as you can see, the upper right area is the highlights and the lower left area represents the shadows. When you point it down, it will give you the shadows of the selected color. Same for highlights, but when it points up. Alright, so I'm going up a little bit here and I will pin this right here for my shadows. And I'm going upper right and tilt this down just right there. Now you can go over each color here, the RGB. There you go, my dry fake laughs. It's actually funnier now. The RGB is what I meant. For the brightness, I like to go over than the saturation because brightness increase the least saturated colors in the image, whereas saturation simply increase the intensity of all colors simultaneously. There are three importance of color mix. Hue is the shifting color tones to a different tonal range. Saturation deals with the power of a specific color. Luminance deals with the brightness of a certain color in the image. What color grading does here is the ability to add the third, oh shit. Here we go again. Color grading adds the ability to apply a third color tone to the midtones. So the midtones, highlights, shadows here is called the three-way colors wheels. Shadows. We're going towards the orange to get that warm tone right there. I love it. Next one, midtone. I'm dragging it slightly close to where shadows are, still keeping the warm look. And for highlights, I will go the opposite direction, which is the blue. And this will kick off the warm teal color tone. For effects, it really depends here how much you want your whole photo to look. You could obviously play around with it. I will just give this photo a tiny grain because I can, some clarity just to smoothen my skin, and I think it's done. So here's the before and after. I'm in between building my home studio, so things do get pretty messy here. But anyways, I appreciate your time and hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Alright, bye!